This is the second part of our story. Two stranded sisters said, "We're only here one night." Then I told them, "I only have one bed. Last time, a storm, one cabin, and one lie tied us together. Now, in this continuation, every choice after that night will change our lives forever." If you haven't heard part 1, go back and start there first, and if you have, sit back, relax, and enjoy the second part of the story. We're only staying one night. The blonde woman yelled it through a crack in her car window, her voice thin against the storm. Wind shoved the rain sideways, and the whole mountain seemed to shake. Headlights shone across my half-built cabin and turned the falling snow into bright white knives. I stood there in the middle of my muddy service road, soaked to the skin, shovel still in my hand, and I had one clear thought. This is how my quiet life ends. Her car was stuck at an angle in the mud, nose down, front tires almost buried. A silver sedan that did not belong this far up a Colorado mountain. Steam rose from the grill. The windshield wipers fought the rain and lost. "I can pull you out when the storm passes," I called back. "Road is bad. You should not even be up here. We just need to come inside until it stops," she said. "Please." I looked up at the sky. Low black clouds pressed down on the ridge. I had lived here long enough to know what that meant. It would not stop tonight. Maybe not tomorrow either. Behind me, my unfinished cabin sat on my grandfather's land, the only thing I had left of my family. Inside there was one wood stove, one old couch, one ladder to a small loft, and one full-size mattress on the floor up there. I wiped rain from my eyes with the back of my hand. "I only have one bed," I said. The passenger door opened before I could say anything else. Another woman stepped out into the storm. She looked like the first one, but older. Same blonde hair, darker eyes. She wore a clear plastic poncho that snapped in the wind. Snow hit her cheeks and melted as she walked around the front of the car, boots sliding in the mud. Her jaw was set like she was walking into a meeting, not into a mountain storm. "We do not need to sleep," she said. "We just need a phone. Our cell service is dead." "Lines are down," I said. "They blew out an hour ago." She stared at me over the hood for a few long seconds. Rain ran down her face and dripped from her lashes. She did not beg. She looked at me like she was trying to weigh me and the cabin and the storm all at once. "Then we just need a roof," she said. "We are not here for fun. We took a wrong road. We will be gone at dawn." Behind her, the younger one shoved her door open the rest of the way and jumped out. Her clear hood was up now, covering her messy hair. She dragged a rolling suitcase through the mud with one hand and threw a tan duffel over her shoulder with the other like she had been doing that all her life. "I am serious," she yelled. "One night." I looked at them and then back at the dark line of trees, the stolen piece of road, the trench I had been digging to save my retaining wall from washing out. The county inspector was coming on Tuesday. If the wall failed before that, Councilman Rigg would call this place unsafe and take the land my grandfather had spent his whole life fighting for. I was tired, cold, and already losing. "Fine," I said. "Grab your bags. Stay close." We fought our way back up to the cabin. Wind shoved at our backs. Mud tried to take my boots. When we reached the small porch, I pulled the door open and heat spilled out around us from the stove. The younger sister gasped. "This is actually kind of cute," she said. "Like a tiny lodge." "It is a job site," I said. "I live in it while I build it." Inside, my one big room felt even smaller. Rough plank floor. A simple table. An old leather armchair I had saved from the dump. Stacks of lumber against one wall. A ladder leading up to the loft where a mattress lay on the floor under a low ceiling. I set their bags by the door while they peeled off clear plastic coats. The younger one shook her hair out and pushed a wet strand off her cheek with a bright grin that did not reach her eyes. "I am Paisley," she said. "This is my sister, Meline. Thank you for not leaving us out there to die." Her words were light, but her hand shook as she wiped at her face. "I am Silian," I said. "This cabin is all I have, so try not to break anything." Meline stepped closer to the stove, rubbing her arms. Under the clear poncho, she wore a fitted blazer and dark jeans, city clothes that did not belong here at all. She turned slowly in place, eyes tracing the beams and joints. "You built this yourself?" she said. "Yes," I said. Her gaze stopped on the corners of the room, where the posts met the beams. She stepped closer and touched one notch with the tip of her fingers. "Dovetail joints," she said. "Hand cut. No metal plates." "You know wood?" I said. I know buildings, she said. I am an architect. Or I was. I guess that depends on how tomorrow goes. Her voice was calm, but something tight sat under the words. I could see it in the way she held her shoulders, like a woman who had been holding too much weight for too long. I threw another log into the stove and closed the door. The fire cracked and settled. Wet clothes steamed in the heat. You said one night? I said. Storm is bad. If the road washes out, you may be here longer. We have to be in Denver by morning, Paisley said from the armchair. She had already sunk into it like it was her own. We have a meeting at a wedding venue, and she has a giant client deadline thing. I have a structural submission due, Meline said. If I miss it, I probably lose my job. I thought about the letter on the small table by the door. Notice of intent to condemn. Councilman Riggs' last warning. You picked a bad mountain for a tight schedule, I said. Wind hit the north wall hard enough that the timbers shuddered. Paisley flinched. That is spooky, she said. The house is fine, I said. It is braced. For now. I moved to the ladder and tapped the rungs. Sleeping, I said. There is a mattress in the loft. Heat rises. It is the warmest place. Take it. We cannot take your bed, Meline said at once. We are already taking your space. You do not know how cold it gets down here at night, I said. I will be fine by the stove. We can share, Paisley said. We used to when we were kids. She kicks, but I can handle it. Meline folded her arms. She was shivering a little now, the fine kind of shake you get when your body is out of strength. Dark circles sat under her eyes. Safety is not a debate, I said. Go up. That is not a favor. That is a rule. She met my eyes for a long moment. I expected another argument. Instead, she gave one small nod. All right, she said. I watched them climb the ladder, one after the other, the light from the stove painting their silhouettes on the rough wall. I heard the soft thump of their bags on the floor above and the low murmur of their voices as they settled in. For 3 years this cabin had been nothing but my work and my ghosts. Nobody else had slept under this roof. Nobody else had breathed this air at night. I rolled out my sleeping bag on the floor near the stove and lay down. The wood ticked as it burned low. Snow tapped at the windows. The storm outside pounded on my walls, but the storm inside my chest was louder. Above me, the boards creaked as someone shifted. I could almost feel the warmth of 2 strangers 12 feet over my head. One of them had looked at my cabin like it mattered. One of them knew how to read a wall the way I knew how to swing an axe. They said they were only here for one night. Lying there in the dark, listening to their soft voices fade, I knew that if I was not careful, that one night could change everything. A hard crash woke me up. For a second I did not know where I was. The fire in the stove had burned down to red coals. The room was dim and orange. The storm outside still screamed around the walls. Then I heard it again. A heavy scrape and a dull thump from above the porch. I was on my feet before I was fully awake. My body moved on old habit. I pulled on my boots and grabbed my flashlight. Stay up there, I called toward the loft. My voice sounded rough in the dark. Do not come down. I did not know if they were awake, but I said it anyway. It felt safer that way. When I opened the door, the wind almost tore it out of my hands. Cold air slapped my face. Snow mixed with rain fell in thick sheets. The world outside was white and gray and wild. My light cut across the porch. A huge fir branch lay across the roof, broken clean from the tree. Needles and chunks of ice covered the boards. I ran my hand along the support beam. The wood was solid. The posts held. The structure was fine. When I turned back toward the door, I froze. Meline stood there in the doorway, framed by the warm light behind her. She wore one of my flannel shirts over a pair of thermal leggings she must have found in my gear bin. The shirt fell past her hips. Her hair was loose and messy from sleep. Her bare toes curled against the cold floor. Is it bad? She yelled over the wind. Roof is fine, I shouted back. Just noise. She still looked worried. I stepped inside and pushed the door shut. The latch clicked and the wild roar turned into a low hum. For a moment we just stood there, breathing hard in the half-dark. My shirt clung to me. Water dripped from my hair down the side of my neck. Her eyes followed the drops like she could feel the cold from where she stood. You are soaking wet, she said. I am waterproof, I said. She did not laugh. Her hand lifted like she wanted to touch my arm, and then stopped in the air, not quite reaching me. You built this place to last, she said. I built it to stand, I said. It is the same thing, she answered. She shivered then. A small full-body shake she tried to hide. Go back to the bed, Meline, I said. I will listen for any more hits. You need sleep. She held my eyes for a long second. There was something there I did not want to name. Then she nodded once and climbed back up the ladder. I waited until I heard her settle before I lay down again. Sleep did not come easy after that. Morning brought clear light, but no comfort. The storm had passed. The damage had not. Outside, the road was gone in 3 places. Whole chunks had slid down the slope. The trench I had dug was half full, but the retaining wall still stood. Mud sucked at my boots as I walked the line. If I was lucky, I could make the road passable in a few days. If I was not, I would be stuck here much longer. Fixing it alone would take time. When I came back to the cabin, the smell of coffee hit me as soon as I opened the door. Paisley stood at my tiny stove with her hair in a loose knot, stirring something in a pot. Meline sat at the table with her hands around a mug, staring at the letter on the wood. Notice of intent to condemn. She looked up at me, then back at the paper. He is serious, she said. Rig is always serious when land is involved, I said. She tapped the edge of the letter. Inspection on Tuesday, she read. If this wall fails, they take the land. I poured myself coffee and leaned against the counter. That is the game, I said. She watched me over the rim of the mug. And you are trying to win it alone, she said. It is my fight, I said. She looked out the window at the road, at the trench, at the rough bracing I had already started. I need something from you, she said. You need something from me. I waited. I have to send my designs by Friday, she went on. If I miss that, my firm replaces me. They put someone else in my seat, and I lose 10 years of work. My boss does not care about this storm. She pointed toward the corner of the room where a plastic case sat on a crate, still closed. That is a satellite uplink, right? She asked. Yes, I said. Runs off a generator in the shed. It is slow, but it works if the sky is clear. She nodded once, like a plan formed in her head. I do not have cash to pay you for it, she said. Not in a way that matters here. So I am going to offer you something else. I raised an eyebrow. You are not selling your soul on my floor, I said. Her mouth curved at one corner. It was almost a smile. You said you built this wall to stand, she said. You want it to pass inspection. I can help with that. I know load paths. I know code. I know where to brace and how. You let me use your uplink when the sky opens, and I help you make sure this place does not fall down. I thought about it. About working alone in the mud, my back shot, my hands raw. About how she had noticed every joint and angle last night in one slow look around the room. Everyone wants something, I said. And everyone needs something, she said back. Her eyes were steady. Outside, the mountain was still a mess, but there was a strange sense of calm between us. I trade in labor, I said. You want the uplink, you work. Paisley can keep the kitchen. You come outside with me. You dig. You lift. You help me brace the wall. No half effort. Deal, she said. I am serious, I said. It is cold. It is heavy. It hurts. So do tight shoes at a board meeting, she said. I am not afraid of work, Silian. She pushed her chair back and stood. Give me a shovel, she said. Show me where to start. The next 3 days blurred together, but I remember small things. I remember the way the mud pulled at our boots and how she cursed under her breath the first time she sank almost to her knee. I remember how her hair kept falling out of her ponytail and into her face until she took one of my old caps and shoved it on her head without asking. I remember the moment she tried to lift a heavy cedar post on her own. She set her feet, bent her knees, and braced her small frame like she could fight the whole mountain with just her will. Let me, I said. I got it, she grunted. Her foot slipped. She stumbled forward and hit my chest. I dropped my end of the post and grabbed her by the waist to keep her from going. Face first into the trench. For 1 second we froze like that. Her hands pressed against my shirt. My fingers spread over her hips. Her eyes were closer than they had any right to be, dark and warm and surprised. You are stubborn, I said. I am capable, she said, but her voice was softer now. You are freezing, I said. Her hands were shaking, not from fear, but from cold and strain. I pulled off my work gloves and pushed them into her fingers. Put these on, I said. Then your hands will be bare, she said. My hands are used to it, I said. Yours are not. She looked down at the gloves, then up at me. Why are you doing this? She asked quietly. You could leave us in the cabin. You could make me sit inside and wait while you work alone. You do not have to help like this. The wall needs to hold, I said. That was the only part one spoke out loud. The rest stayed in my chest where it burned just as hard as the work. That night, after hot stew from Paisley and long showers that steamed up the small room, the cabin felt different. Paisley fell asleep on the couch with a book on her chest. The stove glowed bright. Snow tapped softly at the window. Meline sat at the table with a pad of graph paper I had pulled from an old box. She drew lines and angles with a sharp pencil, her brow furrowed in focus. I sat on the bench by the stove, sharpening my chisels on a stone. The only sounds were the scrape of metal and the soft hiss of the fire. "You have a good eye," she said after a while without looking up. "For what?" I asked. "For light," she said. "For how people move through space. You set this cabin to catch the morning sun in the kitchen and the evening light on that future deck. You plan cross breeze. This is not just logic. It is care." My hand stopped on the stone. Her words hit harder than any storm. "My grandfather taught me to build things that do not fall when the wind picks up," I said. "That is all." "That is not all," she said. She stood and walked over to me. She picked up the chisel I had just finished and checked the edge like she knew exactly what she was looking at. "My father was a carpenter," she said. "He used to say a house is a promise. Then he drank until he forgot how to keep it. Maybe that is why I became an architect, so I could control the walls." She handed the chisel back. Her fingers brushed mine. The touch was light, but I felt it all the way up my arm. We both looked toward the corner where the uplink case Saturday. "If my deadline is as important as I say," she said, "we should not trust a dead generator." "You want to test it now?" I said. "Yes," she said, "while we can still feel our hands." I grabbed my keys and a flashlight. We put on jackets and stepped out into the cold again. The night sky was clear now, full of sharp stars over the dark trees. Our breath hung in the air. The shed was a dark square at the edge of the clearing. Inside, it smelled like metal and old gas. The generator sat waiting in the corner. "Is this safe?" she asked in a low voice. "It is a machine," I said. "I trust machines more than people." I opened the side panel and checked the fuel line, the choke, the spark plug. "Hold the light here," I said. She stood close, shoulder almost touching mine, the beam steady in her hand. "Pull when I tell you," I said. She wrapped the cord in both hands and braced her feet. "Now." She pulled. The engine coughed, then died. "Again," I said. On the third pull, the generator roared to life. The floor vibrated under our boots. She let out a long breath I had not known she was holding. We ran the cable back to the cabin and set the small satellite dish in a gap between trees where it could see clear sky. When the lights on the uplink base turned steady green, I felt something shift in my chest. "It is ready," I said. "You can send your work when you are done." She looked at the little dish, then at me. "Thank you, Silian," she said. She smiled. Then, a real one this time. Warm and tired and a little scared. I knew as I stood there in the cold that whatever she sent through that quiet piece of sky might give her the life she thought she wanted back. And it might take her away from mine. By Thursday night, the cabin looked like a war zone and a home at the same time. Outside, the trench was deeper and cleaner. The wall was braced with ugly but solid timber. Inside, our wet clothes hung from nails over the stove. There were 3 mugs by the sink instead of 1. On the table, Meline had spread out her drawings. Sheets of paper filled with clean lines and small numbers. My graph paper looked better in her hands than it ever had in mine. "Last set," she said. "If this does not go through, it is over." "You will make it," I said. I checked the sky through the window. Clear and cold. The stars were sharp. The generator hummed steady in the shed. The satellite dish lights were green. We hooked her laptop to the uplink and waited for the connection. When the upload started, a progress bar crept across the screen like a slow river. Paisley stood behind us in one of my old sweatshirts, chewing her nail. "How long does it take?" she asked. "As long as it takes," I said. We stood there in a triangle. My shoulder almost touched Meline's. Her hand hovered near the touchpad, fingers tight. 54%. 72. 91. I heard every tick of the stove, every gust of wind outside, every breath she took. When it hit 100%, a small check mark appeared. She let out a long, slow breath and closed her eyes. 3 minutes to spare, she said. We did it. I wanted to pull her into my arms and tell her she was safe now, that the storm and the road and her hard boss could not reach her here. Instead, I stepped back. You should sleep, I said. Tomorrow we see what held. She looked at me then. Really looked. Her eyes were tired and soft. For a second I thought she would say something else. Good night, Silian, she said. Good night, Meline, I said. In the loft later, I lay on one side of the mattress and she lay on the other. We were close enough that if I moved my hand just a little, I could touch her. I did not move. I listened to her breathing until I fell asleep. Friday morning the air was bright and cold. Sunlight hit the wet ground and turned it silver. The road still looked rough, but not impossible. I walked it, kicked loose rocks out of the way, tested the soft spots. For the first time in days, I felt a small lightness in my chest. When I came back in, the cabin smelled like strong coffee and cornbread. I think you did it, I said to Meline. They have your work. You keep your job. I keep my land. We beat the storm. She stood by the table, phone pressed to her ear. Her knuckles were white around it. Her eyes met mine and told me everything before she said a word. What is it? I asked. She hit a button and set the call to speaker. Meline, a man's sharp voice snapped. That file you sent? It will not open. It is corrupt. My stomach dropped. We had a power surge, Meline said. Her voice was calm, but her hand shook. I can resend. There is a satellite uplink here. Give me an hour. No, he said. I am not trusting some mountain system with a project this size. I need you in the office today with a hard set in front of the client. If you are serious about being senior architect, you are in that room when I call this meeting. If you cannot do that, then we will find someone who takes this work seriously. She looked out the window. At the torn road. At the snow still hugging the trees. The roads are washed out, she said. There have been mudslides. Driving down today is not safe. There was a short, cold silence. Then do not come back, he said. You want safe, stay safe. We need people who want the work. The line went dead. The cabin was quiet for a full breath. Then Paisley spoke, voice small. Maddie, she said. It is my fault. Meline turned to her slowly. When you were sending the file, I plugged in my hair dryer, Paisley said. It was on the same strip. There was a spark and the lights flickered for a second. I thought it was nothing. I should have told you. I am so sorry. Her eyes filled with tears. Meline lifted one hand. It does not matter, she said softly. He heard the word storm and still chose a meeting. That tells me everything I needed to know. She set her phone down on the table like it weighed 100 pounds. Before I could say another word, a hard knock hit the doorframe. When I opened it, Councilman Rigg filled the doorway. Behind him stood a man in a safety vest with a clipboard. Morning, Thorne, Rigg said, smiling like the storm had been his idea. His small eyes slid past me into the cabin. Looks like you have company. His gaze hit the two mugs on the counter. The suitcases by the wall. Meline and Paisley standing just behind me. And I see you are running an unlicensed bed and breakfast on this land, he said. That is a zoning problem. I will add it to your file. He stepped aside so the inspector could walk in and look out the back window at the braced wall. A safety issue here, and this whole site gets shut down, Rigg went on. That timber out there is not even stamped. This is unsafe. I am issuing a stop work order. Heat flashed through me. That timber is Douglas fir, I said. Structural grade. Meline stepped forward so fast her shoulder brushed my chest. It is Douglas fir, structural grade 1, she said. I checked the stamp myself. Under state code, temporary storm bracing is allowed for 30 days after a major event. Those braces meet the rule. Rigg turned to her, surprised. And who are you? He said, the maid. I moved without thinking, but she set her hand flat against my chest and stopped me. I am Meline Vance, she said. Architect. If you keep pushing a private landowner with fake safety claims, I will be happy to call the state ethics board. The inspector cleared his throat. She is right about the temporary code, he said. The wall is fine for now. We can still do the scheduled inspection on Tuesday. Rigg's face turned red. He jabbed a finger at me instead. Fine, he said. But the bed and breakfast violation stands. You have guests. This is a commercial operation now. That changes your zoning. You are not approved for that. They are not guests, I said. He narrowed his eyes. Then what are they, he asked. I felt Meline's hand still on my shirt. I looked at her. At Paisley. At Rigg's greedy face. She is my partner, I said. My voice came out strong and clear. She lives here with me now. I pointed at Paisley. She is family, I said. She is visiting. The words were half a lie and half something I wanted so badly it hurt. Rigg stared at Meline. At me. At the loft ladder. At the boots by the door. We will see, he said finally. You have 1 week to prove residency or clear this site. He turned and stomped off the porch, taking the inspector with him. The door shut. The cabin felt even smaller than before. Partner, Meline said after a moment. Her hand slid down from my chest. I turned to her. There was a ghost of a smile at the corner of her mouth, but her eyes were serious. It was the only way to stop him from using you against me, I said. I will not let him take this land because of you. You should not have to lie to keep what is yours, she said. Maybe it is not a lie, I said before I could stop myself. Her breath caught. She looked down, then out the window at the wall we had built together. You saved my land, I said. You stood up to him when I wanted to break his jaw. You gave me a place to sleep when I was scared of the dark, she said. We are even. She was wrong. It did not feel even at all. Paisley needs good Wi-Fi and hot water, she said after a moment. You should drive her down when the road is passable. She can go back to Denver and figure out our mess there. And you? I asked. She looked at the letter on the table. At the wall outside. At me. I am staying, she said. At least until the audit passes. At least until I know what I want next. At least until you tell me you are tired of me taking your bed. My throat felt tight. I am not tired yet, I said. 2 nights later, the second storm hit. The wind was worse than the first one. It shook the cabin so hard I could feel it in the mattress. We lay awake in the loft, side by side in the dark, listening to the frame groan. It is loading the north gable too much, she said suddenly. I turned my head. I could barely see her outline. What? I said. The wind, she said. It is pushing too hard on that end. It needs another brace. If we do not add one, the frame could twist. The timber for that is in the shed, I said. Not inside. She pushed the blanket back. Then we go get it, she said. Every part of me wanted to tell her no, to say it would hold, to keep her safe and warm right where she was. But I trusted her eyes as much as my hands. We dressed in layers. When we opened the door, the night hit us like a wall. Snow blew sideways. The world shrank to the small circle of my flashlight. Stay close, I said. We fought to the shed, grabbed 2 long boards, and turned back. As we hit the porch, the wind caught a loose sheet of plywood leaning against the wall. It lifted and flew at us like a hard, flat wing. Down, I yelled. I turned my body toward her. The edge of the plywood slammed into my left arm. Pain tore from my shoulder to my elbow. The board bounced off the rail and crashed to the floor. You are bleeding, she cried. I looked down. Dark wet spread down my sleeve. I am fine, I said through my teeth. No, you are not, she said. She dragged me inside with my good arm, slammed the door, and pushed me onto the bench by the stove. Her hands moved fast. First aid kit, scissors, gauze. The cut was deep and ugly. This will hurt, she said. It already does, I said. She cleaned and wrapped it anyway. Her fingers were gentle and sure. She did not ask if I was okay. She just fixed what she could. We still have to. Brace that wall, I said when she tied off the bandage. You need to sit, she said. I can hold one end with my good arm, I said. You drill. She stared at me. Then she let out a breath that sounded like defeat and trust mixed together. Fine, she said. Then we do it right. We lifted the board together and set it at an angle against the north wall. I braced my feet and held the timber tight with my good arm. She stepped in close with the drill, her body almost touching mine. Do not move, she said. I will not move, I said. She drove the screws in. The board bit into the post. The whole frame seemed to stop its low moan. When she lowered the drill, we were face to face. Her cheeks were flushed from cold and effort. There was a small smear of my blood on her wrist. Her eyes were wide and bright. The storm howled outside. Inside, the only sound I could hear was our breathing. The line we had been holding for days snapped. I let go of the brace and reached up with my good hand. I cupped her face, my thumb resting near the corner of her mouth. She did not pull back. I kissed her. She kissed me back. There was nothing polite about it. Her hands grabbed the front of my shirt and pulled me closer. My bad arm screamed, but I did not care. All I knew was the heat of her mouth and the way her body pressed against mine like she had wanted this as long as I had. When we finally pulled apart, we were both breathing hard. Her forehead rested against my chest. The cabin shook again. Somewhere outside, the wind shoved against the north wall, but inside it felt still. You are hurt, she said. Her fingers brushed the bandage on my arm. I have been hurt before, I said. This is different, she said quietly. I did not know if she meant the cut or the kiss. We moved in slow, careful steps after that. We checked the brace again. The frame held. Then we went back up to the loft, not as strangers trying to sleep on opposite sides of a mattress, but as two people who had crossed a line together. We lay face to face under the heavy quilt. Her hand found mine between us. Our fingers laced without a word. I could feel her breath on my cheek. If the roof comes off in this storm, she said, that will be very bad timing. If the roof comes off, I will build it again, I said. Some things are worth building twice. She smiled at that, a small tired curve of her mouth. I wanted to remember that smile for the rest of my life. We fell asleep with our hands still joined. The storm beat the mountain for another day, then gave up. When I woke on Sunday, light came through the loft window in a soft gray band. Meline's head rested on my shoulder. Our legs were tangled under the blanket. For a few seconds I just lay there and watched her breathe. I had not shared a bed with anyone in years. It felt easy. It also felt like something I did not deserve. She opened her eyes and looked up at me. Morning, she said. Morning, I said. Downstairs, the stove had burned low. Paisley was not snoring on the couch anymore. Instead, I could hear her humming in the kitchen. Coffee smell drifted up. We are going to have to tell her something, Meline said. About us? I asked. About your arm, she said. But by the way her face warmed, she knew what I meant. We climbed down, moving a little awkward, like two kids caught passing notes in class. Paisley took one look at my bandage and gasped, but after the first wave of worry, she slipped back into her talkative rhythm. She teased Meline only once. So, she said, fake partner, real partner, how are we labeling this on the chart? Meline rolled her eyes and threw a dish towel at her. I pretended to be very busy checking the wood pile. My face felt hot. The day was quiet after that. We cleaned, we ate, we checked the road. The snow had stopped. The sky was clear. The satellite dish lights blinked like small calm stars. I should have known peace never lasts long on a mountain. The next morning, my phone buzzed on the crate by the loft bed. The sound was sharp in the still room. Signal had come back. I grabbed it and saw Paisley's name. She is at the motel in town, Meline said. She must have a full bar down there. I hit answer and put it on speaker. Maddie, Paisley said. Her voice was bright and breathless. You are not going to believe this. Meline sat up, her hair messy around her face. My chest tightened. I called Sterling. Paisley went on. I told them about the storm and the power surge. The client refused to meet with anyone else. They said the project is yours or they walk. The firm freaked out. They want you back. They are offering you a promotion. Senior partner. They want you in New York on Monday. They are sending a car. Silence dropped into the little loft like a stone. Wow, I said, because I could not think of anything smarter. Yeah, Paisley said. Details in your email. I just wanted to tell you. This is huge, Maddie. You did it. Thank you, Meline said. Her voice sounded far away. I will call you later. She ended the call and stared at the phone. Senior partner, I said. That is big. It is everything I thought I wanted, she said. Her eyes went to the small window. From here, she could see a slice of the ridge and the tops of the fir trees. Sunlight hit the fresh snow and made it glow. You should go, I said. The words tasted like rust. She turned her head fast. That is it, she asked. You think I should just leave? You worked 10 years for this, I said. I swing a hammer. I dig in the mud. You design towers. That is who you are. Is it? She asked. Her voice was sharp now. You risked your life to save this cabin, she went on. You fought Rick. You cut your arm open in a snowstorm to brace one wall. I watched you. You tell me I built my life out of plans and meetings, and maybe you are right. Maybe I forgot how to build anything that is not made of glass and steel. But do not tell me who I am like you know all of it. I swallowed. I do not want to hold you here, I said. Not with lies to a councilman and a broken road. If you stay, I need it to be because you chose this, not because you were trapped. She was quiet for a long time. The only sound was the stove ticking as it cooled. If I asked you to come with me, she said, to New York, would you? The question hit me harder than the plywood had. I thought about my grandfather's land, about the notice on the table, about the beams I had set with my own hands, about the creek where he used to fish and the big fir tree where his ashes rested. I cannot leave this place, I said. This is my family. This is my promise. She nodded slowly. That is what I thought, she said. Her eyes were wet now, but she did not let any tears fall. Then we are not stuck, she said. We are just standing in different places. We did not talk much as we packed. She folded my flannel shirt and set it on the bed. I picked it up and handed it back. Keep it, I said. City will not know what to do with you in real clothes. She smiled at that, a small sad thing, and tucked it into her bag. By late afternoon, the road was rough but passable. I drove her down the mountain in my truck. We did not play music. We just watched the trees slide past, bare and bright under fresh snow. When we reached the lot of the small motel where Paisley waited with her suitcase, I parked but did not turn the engine off. The world here was different. Puddles, asphalt, the sound of cars on the highway far off. Cell towers blinking on a low hill. Meline unbuckled her belt, then stopped with her hand on the door. I do not regret getting lost, she said. Me either, I said. She looked at me for a long moment, like she was trying to fix my face in her memory. You are going to pass that inspection, she said. You will keep this land. You will finish that cabin. You will sit on that deck and watch the sun go down over something you built yourself. That is the plan, I said. You are going to let people in now, she said. Not just walls and tools. I did not answer. I think she knew it was true anyway. She leaned over the bench seat and kissed me one more time. It was softer than the first kiss by the brace, but it hurt more. Goodbye, Silian, she said. Goodbye, Meline, I said. She opened the door and stepped out. Paisley ran to meet her. They hugged hard. Then the two of them went into the motel office to wait for the car that would take them back to the airport and the tall, cold buildings far from my mountain. She did not look back. The week after she left felt like a month. The inspector came on Tuesday. He checked the wall, the braces, the slope, the drainage. He walked the line with his clipboard and his tight mouth. You did good work, he said at last. Temporary bracing is fine. Permanent structure looks solid. I will sign off. Councilman Rigg was not happy, but he could not argue with code and stamped paper. He still tried to push the zoning angle, but with Meline and Paisley gone, there was nothing to hold on to. The bed and breakfast claim fell apart like wet cardboard. In the end, he left me and my land alone. I finished the cabin that spring. I added a railing to the loft she had slept in. I built the deck she had imagined and set the posts exactly where the evening light hit them just right. Sometimes I would stand by the north wall and put my hand on the brace we set together while the storm screamed outside. My arm healed, but I could still feel a faint ache when the weather changed. Summer came. One hot afternoon, a plain envelope showed up in my small metal mailbox by the road. No return address I knew. Inside was a single page and a photo. The page was a quick sketch of a small house. Wood frame, deep porch, big windows set to catch morning sun. Notes in the margin in neat block letters. It was a cabin, but not my cabin. It was something new. On the bottom corner, in small letters, was her name. The photo showed her in a hard hat at a job site. Not New York. The sign in the background said Community Housing Project, Pueblo. She smiled at the camera in my old flannel shirt, sleeves rolled to her elbows. There was one line written on the back. You were right, it said. Some things are worth building twice. I stood on my porch with that photo in my hand and the mountain around me. My cabin stood solid at my back. The air smelled like pine and sawdust. My chest hurt, but it was a clean kind of hurt. She had gone her way. I had stayed in mine. We did not end up under the same roof, but we were not the same people we had been when a silver sedan slid off my road one bad night. Two stranded sisters said they were only here for one night. They left, like they promised. The strange thing was, they also left me with something that stayed.
If this story stays with your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. If this story stays with your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends.